Alrighty, I'm here with Lenny and Candy. They are both staying here at the same hotel I'm staying at here up in Columbiana, where a whole bunch of East Palestine residents have been staying since they've been able to relocate for a while. I'm glad you all were able to get, to get relocated.
It's a bitch trying to find a place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then like here, you can only stay for 5 days because they have stuff booked for the weekends. You can't. You got to find someplace else. So you go home.
Right.
And
right.
we live in the middle of town.
So right now the situation you're running into is you're able to get some of the money for relocation, or are you able to get the money from Norfolk Southern, I guess, or do you want to talk about how that process is first, and then we'll get into?
That process is fucked up.
Yeah.
Extremely, because they treat everybody. It should
Different.
be a uniform thing. Everybody's just equal, but it's not. This one gets all this. This one don't get shit. That you have to follow something, some kind of pattern, some kind of set standard that includes everybody, every scenario. It's all the same. You do not want to be in this position. You do not want to be where you're at. You want to be at home. You want to not be worrying about stuff. I mean, we've got kids, we've got grandkids right there in town. I'm not worried about me. I'm old. I know my time's over, but my kids, they go from 9 down to 9 months. Grandkids. I worry about them.
Yep.
Everything's good. The water's good. Where you go look, I got the little creek in my backyard where they had one of those aerator pumps running. And you walk out, you can't catch your breath because of the smell. And you can taste it, but it's good. It won't hurt you.
Right.
Common sense tells you it's not good.
Absolutely.
And they won't tell you what they're looking for. They don't know. They know exactly what they're looking for. That train manifest, I know people that work for the railroad, that train manifest has everything listed to the exact amounts.
And not to mention, too, I mean, I've been talking with a lot of experts on this, so you know exactly what was on the train, manifest-wise. And then you also, you talk to the experts, and you know what the byproducts of those things are when they're set on fire. And a lot of the tests are being done, and it's broadly, they're testing for VOCs. Very broad term, very broad test. And they're not doing, in a lot of cases, specific tests for those chemical byproducts, which is outrageous.
And then the chemicals mixed together. It's like, I talk to people at work that I work with, and it's like, I feel kind of like weird, sluggish, like tingling, my tongue's kind of tingling. It's, well, that those chemicals, by themselves are bad enough, but when some of those chemicals mix together, they actually create nerve gas that we use to kill people with.
Right. And that's, yeah.
He works right beside the railroad track at Stroke.
Yeah, I had train cars up behind our building, and then they took over the whole end of our parking lot and put cars in there, plus burn up electrical vehicles that they were hauling through.
Right. And I actually hadn't heard of the cars with burnt up with electric vehicles. So there were also electric vehicles that were in close proximity, at least, to the vinyl chloride cars and whatnot that caught on fire. So you've got vehicles and batteries and all sorts of stuff
There might have been
involved in that.
50, 75 yards back.
Yep.
But they burn up anyway.
Yep. So you mentioned you work real close to where this happened. I mean, how many days of time off did you have before you were back into work?
3.
So you basically started as soon as they cleared the evacuation,
They cleared
basically?
the evacuation area Wednesday. They were calling us to come into work Thursday.
And what was the experience going back in? I mean,
I didn't go back in the first day.
yeah.
I was in a hotel in Boardman. Like, I am up here. All my stuff is at my house. My house reeks.
Because you live right there too, basically.
Yeah, I live 100 yards from the police station.
Okay.
And I work like 4 blocks away from the police station.
Yeah.
And it's right, the railroad tracks. We actually have a railroad track that came into our yard. They used to use years ago when the other building was there. The other owners had the place.
Yep. So I guess to go back to the work thing. So when you ultimately did go back to work, was it what was it like? I mean, do you feel anything when you're going back symptom wise or anything like that, or?
I'm tired. I'm fine if I'm doing something. If I come home and go home, sit down, and 5 minutes I'll be falling asleep.
Yeah.
But
Scratchy
it's
throat.
just weird.
What was that?
Yeah, I had a
Scratchy
I had a
throat.
sore throat for 2 weeks straight. Just rough.
Yep.
But that was You know, I've seen other guys that have had that. They got the itchy eyes. They got the rash. We have one kid that, well, one of my buddies, he went because he thought he had an ear infection. Came up to his doctor up here in Columbiana, saw the nurse. She said, okay, now check it. You don't have that. And he said he had a rash on his forehead too. She says, well, you have to leave. You have to go to the hospital. So why? Didn't give him a reason. It cost him $1,000 to go to that doctor for 20 minutes though. Because he went up to see about getting tests done. Well, they can't do tests. They don't know what they're testing for. They don't know what test to use. And the test they were using for the vinyl chloride was not the right test for it to start with.
Right.
Because we also have people in the medical profession.
Right. So this gentleman.
They sent
go
him.
ahead.
Yeah, he went to St. E's the next day. They did the same thing. You know, he said, "Well, I got this and this rash. But, you know, I want some tests." So there's thousands of tests, blood tests we can do. We don't know which ones to do. No one is telling us what to do.
Right. Which is
bullshit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Bullshit. Number
flat
one.
out bullshit.
Yes. Yeah. No. Agreed. And like, call someone. Find out what. You know what I mean. You don't know what it is. Okay. Make some phone calls. Find out what tests need to be done.
Oh yeah, you go to a doctor and get a prescription for tests. What ones?
Right.
I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't heard anybody say anything about you need this specific, this specific, that specific. And just get a general, get a chest X-ray, get a general blood workup. Okay, they didn't tell you that the vinyl chloride only shows up in a piss test. It won't show up in your blood.
Right. Yeah. Again too. I mean, vinyl chloride's one of them, but add all of the other list of chemicals too, the byproducts and everything afterwards is.
And then they're still not counting. There was, oil in a couple of those cars.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And you can see it. I mean, they had that aerator was in my backyard in the creek. The creek's 25 feet from my garage.
Yep. And is this sulfur run in your yard or or is it a smaller one?
It's sulfur run.
Okay, it
run
is.
comes down the other way.
Yeah.
And it runs right down through the middle of town. Runs underneath half of the town.
Yep.
And they got an aerator down there blowing it up in the air. And oh yeah, it's fine, guys. The EPA guys, yeah, look, see your little meter. How do I know what that meter's reading?
Right.
I don't know anything about this.
Right.
I didn't go to school for this. I'm not a college educated person. I'm just average person that's trying to make a living.
Yeah.
So.
And frankly, so the last time we were here, we saw those aerator things, and they're still out there. And I'll say even now, we went over we'd seen some of them had moved. I went over and tried to get a couple photos and whatnot, and I actually started wearing a respirator with me at most of these things because it's messed up. But at one of them, I didn't the other day, and I got a whiff of it, and it actually, I mean, I had a headache for probably 2 hours afterwards. For a couple minutes, I was feeling a little dizzy, and I mean, lightheaded, not right.
And the things you smell aren't the dangerous ones.
Yeah.
Because for the first 2 weeks after that, I never saw a bird anywhere.
Yep.
And there was always birds around our house. They'd always be sitting on the power lines. There was nothing. It was dead silence out there.
Yeah. And I'll say too, though, so as far as the chemicals that were on the train, for the most part, the ones that smell aren't a big concern. But although vinyl chloride, if you can smell it, it can be a concern at that point. But formaldehyde is one of the potential byproducts, as well as phosgene. Both formaldehyde and phosgene. I've talked to a gentleman he's way smarter than I am on chemicals. He's got a doctorate in chemistry. He's like an MD a doctorate in chemistry. Sorry, PhD. I consulted with him, and if you can smell formaldehyde, if you can smell phosgene, it's already above the limit that you should be there. So they're going around telling folks a lot of similar to what you just said, that if you can smell it, it's probably this thing, and it's called butyl acrylate.
Yeah.
They're always telling you, it's butyl acrylate, it's butyl acrylate. That is the only thing that was on the train that if you can smell it, it's not necessarily a concern. It could still be a concern at a certain level, but that's what they tell you it is every single time.
Well, that's like, you don't know, you can't really smell that good. I can smell pretty good. I smoke. I'm a welder. I can pick up scents that, I don't smell anything. I don't smell anything. Well, I sure do.
Right.
I can taste this shit.
I'm curious from your perspective. I mean, from the beginning of this, when this all happened, I mean, What I guess how did you first find out that this happened? What was the circumstance in the beginning when this all went down? I mean,
Okay, I heard the fire trucks. My granddaughter called me. I was like, hello? She says, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. She said, your town's on fire. I was like, what?
right.
I jumped out of bed and ran downstairs. I'm like, what are you talking? Because I had on my watch, I had my phone downstairs. I said, what are you talking about? She said, I said, I hear fire trucks. I thought it was a house on fire or something. Not the train.
Right. Yeah. And
What do you do?
Yeah. Where we're off the main, we're off the Barton Street. That's
Yep.
the main drag through the middle of town.
Yep.
We live on Main Street.
okay.
We have enough stuff, buildings and stuff blocking us for sound and stuff. We never heard it.
Right.
And you couldn't see any fireballs.
Right.
You know, you couldn't see the smoke. It's 9:30 at night. So we don't know. Oh, let's see fire truck after fire truck. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And they were coming from places I never even heard of. Cops coming from like, where's this place at? We got like World War III or something going on
Yeah.
there.
Jeez. And I guess that initial night, did you all leave that night? Did you stay in
No,
town that
we
night?
stayed.
Stayed
town.
until they decided to blow the cars,
Okay.
which I thought was a pretty stupid ass idea because you're going to do a controlled burn. If you blow something up, you lost control of it.
Right.
And you see that big ass black cloud floating, you know you have no control over it.
Yeah.
You don't have enough air to it to make it burn properly and clean.
There was nothing about that looked controlled to me.
No.
No. Yeah.
They had their little 1 mile evacuation route, and literally 100 yards from where they ended that line.
Yeah.
And they came to my daughter's house. She lives in an apartment, upstairs apartment. On the other side, she was in the little evacuation thing. They came to her house Monday morning when they were talking about blowing a train. And they flat out told her that, you need to leave. We cannot make you leave. But we need a head count for the house, so if we come back later, we know how many body bags to bring. You don't tell a young mother with 3 kids something like that.
And wow. So I'll say that what the reason I'm saying wow is another resident that I've talked to made the body bag comment, and that's another person saying like they were literally saying the body bag. Like I didn't know if she was using a figure of speech or not. They literally told her body bag because I did ask afterwards, and then they literally told your daughter in this
and
case.
there was an older couple they told the same thing to.
Wow.
And that's just, I'm sorry, that's like fucking ignorant.
And
I'm just
literally,
blunt.
she could go from her house straight over to our house through our backyard. That's
insane. So they told you all that you had you were
We just had to shelter in place.
right.
I walked outside Monday morning because there was a semi sitting, watching drive up the street, just
Yeah.
a tractor, and he pulls up and he's sitting there looking because you got all these, military vehicles and shit
Yeah.
lined up there, and he's like, I walked out and said, he said, what's going on? I said, it's the train wreck. He said, what train wreck? I said, you haven't seen the train wreck? He was from Cranberry, PA. He'd already made one run up to Nowell, I believe, and was going back for another one. He said, I kept coming back. He said, I kept hitting these detours. He said, how do I get out of here? Well, I'll tell you, you can't go that way.
Right.
You got to go back the way you came, and I'll tell you the long way to get back around all this. Meantime, cop pulls up. And I said, what's going on? I'm trying to, help this guy out. Well, he shouldn't be here. No shit. So you're supposed to be sheltering in place. I'm trying to help the guy.
Right.
I've been here breathing this shit in. I'm already exposed. You're not going to get overexposed to it. Once it's in you, it's in you. He proceeded to tell me I should not be out there, and I was nice. I was calm. I didn't tell him to go, F off or nothing. Because I just talked to another cop not 20 minutes before that, because he was standing out there looking around, and I asked them where the line in the sand was now. What was the corner of our street?
Right.
It had moved down that much. Like, oh, that's interesting.
And also the fact that it was just like arbitrarily moving a little bit here and there shows how much of a lack of a plan there was with this.
It was a total clusterfuck. They had no idea. The fire chief, the mayor, everybody, they have no idea. You've never seen anything like this before.
Right.
Nobody knows what to do with it.
But also, I mean, like, you know, I can understand that they don't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? You're a small town, you know, you're not expecting this. The fact that, like, at the state level, or, you know what I mean, or at the federal level, where they've got the resources, and both the state and the federal level have failed miserably, in my opinion, and helping you all, and even handling the situation initially.
And they've dealt with it before, the same scenario.
Yep.
And then they throw the mayor under the bus because, or the fire chief, because he said go ahead and do it. He ain't got a clue, man.
Right, and I'd imagine he's getting a whole lot of pressure from this multi-billion-dollar corporation, Norfolk Southern, who are the ones wholly responsible for all this. All of the blame should be on them in this case. But right, they're trying to get the information from whoever they can, and they're thinking, okay, this railroad is hauling the stuff. They probably know. They probably know what to do.
Take their word
you know,
for everything.
Right, and that was the mistake from the beginning. Is like all of the for the first week or so, more than that, all of the tests that were being done, the tests that were done to tell you all that it was safe to go home after the controlled burn.
They just wanted the railroad to go.
Right, they wanted the railroad to go, and that's why they used only the railroad testers. But shame on
Them.
the governor, the federal, the president, whoever, you know, the transportation folks, the folks in PA for taking the test results from CTEH, the company hired by Norfolk Southern, at face value, and just saying, yep, the results that were given to us by the company that caused the problem in the first place say that it's fine, so it's fine. Go ahead and go home.
Yeah, because they drug the train cars off just enough they could put gravel down, lay tracks, and run. Because, like I said, it was 6 o'clock or something when they said everybody come back in. 6:35, there goes the trains. Oof.
Right through.
They were pre-staged.
Yep, ready to go. And I mean, they're a little less this time when I'm in town because we got only one set of tracks through here. The last time I was in town, both sets of tracks were still going, and man, they were constant in both directions.
Every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's insane. And even now, it's still at least once an hour, sometimes more. And these trains are. I got some video of one earlier today, and I sat there for 6 or 7 minutes watching this train go by. These are long trains coming through still, so it seems like they almost haven't learned their lessons. Still running these super long, super heavy, very full trains through town.
Well, I just seen on Facebook earlier there was another train derailment today.
I actually I'm going to steal the line. I forget who said it, but I was at a meeting in Pennsylvania the other day with a bunch of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives right over in Darlington.
Right.
Yep, and somebody there had said derailment is just part of the business plan now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They've got crews who just their job is to fix the derailments after they happen. When you have the rail industry in the United States has, at least last year, is roughly 1,700 derailments last year. There's only 365 days a year in the year.
But you're talking how many different rail lines? 7, 8 major rail lines?
But a lot of them.
Right. Well, there's a 4 big ones, and then there's a couple small ones after that. Norfolk Southern was responsible themselves for almost 200 of them. So that's still almost once, not quite once a day, but that's.
There's a couple of them that I saw these train derail trail. That was the train. The one where the boulder come off the mountain.
Yeah.
The one where the mobile home come off the foundation.
Yeah.
I don't think they could set that up.
Yeah. Fair. But yeah, no, it's terrible the situation that you all are in. I mean, I don't know if you own your home or not, but that's a whole other element to all of this. Is to this day, no one has said anything, to my knowledge, to folks about, hey, we know your property values are plummeting. We'll make sure that gets taken care of. I mean,
that doesn't bother me. I don't care. I worry more about the kids and the grandkids than a house or a car. I could give 2 shits about that.
Yep. And that's how most people are too, I will say. But it's for a lot of folks too. It's a whole other element of it. A lot of folks in East Palestine are living paycheck to paycheck, as they are in a lot of places in the U.S. And if you've been working your butt off, putting your paychecks into buying this house, and now what you've been saving up for to have as like an asset to that you've got this thing that you paid for that's worth something in case something happens.
See, that was my grandparents' house. Then it was my my sister's house. Then my mom and dad's house. We bought it off my sister. So that's been in the family forever.
Right.
And that's what we're worried about the granddaughter, because she has asthma. I mean, she's been life flighted a couple times. She isn't that bad. They live right by the tracks too. They're a little further down to the west end of town, but the dust off the train doesn't just stop right here and fall off.
Right.
It carries on and on forever and ever.
Yeah. No, it's.
But she was sick, and her son was sick. They were both puking from nothing.
Right.
So they relocated.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, again, the health symptoms that folks are having are terrible, and the fact that for a while, a lot of, I mean, even now, a lot of the officials are saying, oh, it's not from the derailment.
Yeah.
You know, this is from, this is just a coincidence that it's happening now. It's like, you're telling me that, you mentioned the rashes earlier, you're telling me that when upwards of like half of the folks in town have had some sort of rash. The last time I was here, it was a lot more prevalent with the rashes still. There's folks are still getting them, but...
now they're getting nosebleeds.
Yep.
But everything's good.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's not a mass-induced panic thing. Everybody has a different thing. I mean,
Right.
we have one guy that works with us. He had the rash. He had some kind of thing in his eyes, his throat. He went to his doctor. The doctor says you're gonna have to stay away from there for at least a month if you ever go back. But he's allergic to everything there is.
Right.
It's no blanket thing. Everybody's
Right.
different.
Everybody's different. Yeah.
But one straight answer would be really nice.
Honest.
Yep.
answer.
And frankly, there's one takeaway from all of this, like, that has not happened. There have not been straight answers on anything.
No, it's a dog and pony show, and that's it.
It's pretty sad when you have to rely on the media to tell you the truth.
And I'll say too right now, unfortunately, I was surprised that, I'm doing the best I can, but we're a small independent, we don't have some big team working on this. The other day I was at the city council meeting.
That was a
We were
joke.
the only camera in the room. There was not another camera in the room. Where is CNN? Where is Fox News? Where is MSNBC? Where are all these people?
Anybody.
Or anybody. I shouldn't have to be like we've got an audience and it's growing and that's great. I'm happy to be here and I want to keep telling all of your stories because I think it's important. Where are these people who have way the hell more resources than we do?
I had a discussion about that with a fellow. He says, "Oh, I'm glad that there's all the media's like leaving." I said, "You're wrong. You want as many media people here as you can get and as you can keep here because that is the only way you will get anything, any attention, anything. Once they leave, you're a forgotten memory."
Unfortunately, that's very true. I mean, if we're gonna, if folks are gonna get people in the government to take action on this and to actually do it, the pressure needs to be there on them.
Yeah.
We had there was that Senate hearing in D.C. last week at some point.
Oh,
that's
that
great
was
and
good.
all. Yep. Yeah, and they made Alan Shaw look bad and asked him some tough questions. But have we seen any legislation since then?
No.
No,
Have many of them been talking about this at all since then?
no. But if you're an illegal immigrant, hey, we'll give you the world. Here's the keys. Here's the gold card. Whatever.
Or if you want to look at it the other way of like, the amount of money being sent overseas.
Yeah.
You could a good example last week, one of the big banks in California that's got all the venture capitalist
Silicon
money.
Valley Bank.
Silicon Valley Bank, less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
Government stepped right in and said, we'll make sure that this is all taken care of.
Yeah, but you've got people dealing with stuff like we are, and look at if you've been out to Vegas and stuff around there.
Yep.
See all the homeless people,
Yeah.
and 90% of them are veterans.
Yep. Even where I
We
live in
treat 'em
Austin,
like
Texas,
that.
and I see the same thing in Austin, Texas, homeless veterans and
Yeah,
whatnot.
We treat them like that.
So yeah, I mean, there are unfortunately they see small town, they think small town with a bunch of people who
Yeah.
aren't going to make a stink about it. Maybe they don't
Yeah.
know all this sort of stuff, and
Yeah.
We're not dumb.
You got 4,700 people. They're lap rats. Here's another one. Here's another one.
Matter of fact, that's one of the videos was going around. Like,
Yep.
they did this.
yeah, who knows?
That song, "Canary in a Coal Mine."
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to me. I
Oh,
really
you're
appreciate it. Let's. I'll make sure you might already have my phone number, but I'll make
Yes.
sure we stay in touch here. I'd love to be able to follow up with you. I'll be back again at some point here.
I'll
And
probably be still here.
yeah. Maybe we'll bump into each other at breakfast again. You never know. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.